Um, Hello, we've got here Vicente Corell, Vince. Hello, Vicente.
Hello, Chimo. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to have you with us to talk about your job and the way you see your profession and how ideas into action come into that. So can you tell us a little bit about what kind of job you do, where you are, and what you want to do in the future, very roughly, like just where do you feel you fit?
Okay. So my background is I'm an engineer. Yep. I'm from Spain, and then a few years back, I went to the UK. But before, I've been in Sweden and also in the north of Spain, living and developing projects there. So nothing. Currently, I work at Aston Martin, as you will know. I am looking after the driven development office. That is an engineering office.
Trimming, yeah.
Trimming, yeah. It's developing patterns. It's engineering, but it's mainly is development. That's something that Aston Martin does in house. So it's quite a big department inside our office. So yeah, I currently do that, but suddenly a few months back, the CEO was planning to set up a business unit, and he offered me the opportunity to build that business unit, and not only to lead it, but also to build it from scratch. So that is something that doesn't exist, and merge a few different departments from engineering, production, advanced manufacturing, and something new that we are planning to create, that is the Train Academy. So that's more or less my background.
Right. No, that's very clear. So, and what about in other things that you do? Mm-hmm. Where do you see yourself? Like, if you left Aston Martin, mm-hmm. do you see yourself as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, a mix of everything? Where do you think you could go after?
So I think it's, as you say, it's a mix of everything, I think, because as an engineer is what I studied, no, but I studied engineering because I like building things and creating new opportunities, no. So recently I set up a business, as you know, there in the UK, that is actually, well, kicking off. We started less than a year ago. So that is taking a bit of time. It's a bit different because it's a more like an old style business, no? It's not such a like new technologies, new processes or new platforms. No. It's something based on what I've been doing in the past years. It's just something that I had an opportunity to build, and I'm building on that. And also, as you know, where I'm planning to, and I'm kind of in the situation where most of your, I think this subject goes around, no, that is entrepreneurship, and actually this module, the ideas into action, is quite key on what I'm doing currently, with the EV platform that we're trying to create, and trying to engaging with different business people that can bring some money into the idea and actually make it happen.
So explain a bit what's an EV platform.
An EV platform is so currently there's the industry for EV cars is related into creating the complete vehicle, no? And everyone is trying to get that kind of know-how. And what is happening is there's also that industry is starting to expand in the sense of from an environmental need. Yeah. So there's also circular economies. I don't know if you've heard about it, but how can we create new opportunities to improve what we have already there without having to change it, So,
and why do you call it an EV platform and not an EV factory, or why is it called a platform?
for me, it's a platform because what I'm trying to do is create something that I can standardize and make it modular. For me, that's a platform.
Okay.
Because what it will not be a platform is something that you have to create a specific for something, So it's 100% based for that product. But what I'm trying to do is create a platform that with 80% of the development of that platform, I can source many projects, and then I have only a 20% of that platform that is unique to the vehicle. So I'm trying to reduce cost, reduce timing, and standardize better the product. So that's why I call it a platform instead of an EV company.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to build a complete car. We're just trying to give support to this small industry that is happening now, and most of the companies that make this industry, they are small, and they're just trying to find a way of making it work. So I think what this platform will do is we give them that kind of standardization that big corporations have, but small companies can have, because they don't have the know-how.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is because you've been years working for, a big company like Aston Martin. That's
yeah, of course. These are all things that happen from being in the exact place, or being in that kind of industry. It's ideas that happens when you are involved in something. As we were saying before, ideas always happens to solve a problem that is already there, or a gap, to fill a gap. So this is if it was something different, unless you are looking at that kind of industry, it's very difficult that you suddenly have the bulb come up and we need to do this, and this is going to be successful. Something that you have to be in the environment to come up with ideas of.
But it is a whole concept. It's to me, it's much more. It's an aggregate of ideas. It's because an idea would be, why can't we, make the EV vehicles, standard in this way that is challenging, so that and then but what you're describing is a whole massive challenge to a concept. It aggregates many ideas that come together.
It is, and also it has different factors, that influence this idea. Like, for example, just based on what you were saying, is a massive, it's a massive, but actually the market is telling you right now there's an opportunity with this kind of vehicle, so you focus on standardize that the platform to support that kind of vehicle, with the mindset that this platform needs to support these other vehicles. So you also need to be doing research to see what is the next thing happening, the next vehicle that is going to be something that people want to buy, and then suddenly it's going to be a momentum of that product. So evolving with that. So so I think it's a big thing, but once you are concentrated on that and you can look at it in a focused perspective, it goes into one idea, I think.
So in this module, Ideas into Action, there's a part of it that is quite immediate, which is don't get stuck in finding perfect ideas. Just what are the actions you could take to start with? But of course, that's a little bit stepping aside and ignoring the process. So that's part of what we're doing, is just showing the team that the Ideas into Action, just as a very simple process where helps you to get things rolling. It has you to test different processes. But my question to you is, how do you think about putting ideas into action? Do you have a process that you favor, that you like to use?
Yes, indeed. I think, and it comes with experience and being involved in that, because it's quite key what you said, waiting for the perfect idea or waiting for the perfect situation. That's never going to happen. it's really rare. There's 1 in a million or thousands of millions, you know. So you have to start, and you have to just try. And how do you try? No, it's very ambiguous to say, oh, just try it. What does it mean? Just try it. Just see where that idea takes you to. No?
Yeah.
What something for me that is I learned through the years is an idea evolves, and from what you thought it was going to be, maybe with these kind of factors I was saying before that influence your idea, you end up doing something different. But the point is, the essence of the idea is to stay the same. No, it's developing something in that kind of industry. No, that's my opinion. For me, no, this EV thing, maybe it's not a platform in the end. We do vehicles specifically for this project, or suddenly maybe it's better not doing a platform, it's doing the complete vehicle itself, you know. So that those ideas come along with the flow. You cannot be rigid and say, oh no, this is my idea and I'm gonna make it work, because maybe the market is not there, the people doesn't know about your product and they don't find it in the market. The technology hasn't been developed just to give you that kind of extra edge that makes it work. So my suggestion will be, don't wait for the perfect idea. Just go with it. Start developing it. Make market research. See how much it's going to cost you. Look at the cost. Look at the financing, and also look at the timing, the development. As we were saying. So these are the 3 main factors that as I was saying to you before we start. For me, it's always I look at the development, at the cost, and at the timing. There's always 3 things. Most of them are interlinked into them. No, development is once you have an idea, how you develop it. No, you make an assessment of, okay, what is the gap that I'm trying to cover, I'm trying to fill, or what is the problem I'm trying to resolve. No, and you just go developing that idea. No, in terms of, for me that I work in the auto industry, is, for example, we were having an efficient, and something, it doesn't need to be luxurious or something like just the new thing happening, no? But maybe for the industry you're working on, it's very important. For me, as an example, we had a leather supplier, but this leather supplier was not the manufacturer. So we're going through a third party, no? It was a tier 1 supplier that suddenly the leather manufacturer became a tier 2 supplier. What happens? That when you have a tier 1 that doesn't manufacture the leather, then the product it becomes inefficient. Why? Because the ones who produce the leather can have more material around it when they need to cut it, they need to process it. No? So that what happens is that they can play better with the efficiency of that material. So the cost actually can be reduced. But also this current supplier that we're having, it was very opaque because they were trying to maximize. It was not transparent. No? So I had an idea. At the beginning, we had a project, and one of our biggest projects, the DBX, is the first Aston Martin SUV that we developed. Is a car that on the most luxurious option, we use 80 square meters of leather. 80. Yeah? That's a lot of leather. Yeah. So once we're thinking that,
is it not the DB11?
No, DBX.
DBX.
Yeah. The SUV.
Yeah. That's where all the 80.
It's all leather. So it's not that we're going to be using 80 square meters, but we have efficiencies. Sometimes when the leather is more expensive, is because it's less treated. No, it's more natural.
Yeah.
And then what happens? That the efficiency of that leather gets reduced. So for us to make this vehicle, that in net square meters, maybe we were going to be using around 30, 40 square meters.
Yeah.
Because the product was so natural with so many defects on the surface, that defects tells you that the material is true, but people doesn't want to see it. No, it's real. People doesn't want to see it in the vehicle. No? So you have to avoid all those marks and imperfections. So from 80 square meters that we had to use, we actually needed on a net usage of 30 square meters,
Whoa.
So if you consider that a square meter is 130 pounds, you made the maths.
You throw me all that away.
How expensive this product is, no? And also how much, if apart from that, we're also saying that the supplier was not being efficient and is being opaque, not giving us the opportunity to improve. Well, I decided that I had an idea to say, okay, well, let's look for new opportunities. No? Let's look and see what is the market telling us. What other OEMs are doing? Yeah, no, as an idea. So big OEMs, for example, big OEMs, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, JLR, we can consider as a big, they don't actually use one main supplier of leather. They have multiple. Yeah. So that was not our business case. No. Why? Because we don't move so much leather. Then we will have to develop with the different kind of suppliers. We'll have to develop the same product. So who is responsible for that when that goes into obsolescence? No, we change the color, we change the grain, we change something. No, there's loads of risk in there. There's loads of risk on cost. No, and also there's loads of risks in color matching too, grain matching, because we have different sources of material. No? So it happens that was not a good idea for us. So then we decided to look into more Bentley, Rolls-Royce, McLaren, and see what do they do, Lamborghini, what do they do? And actually what they do is they go to the leather manufacturer. Why? Because it gives you an improvement on timing. Because as they can produce the leather and they're going to be cutting it, it gives you that kind of flexibility. And also it removes one of the steps on the supply chain. So you have the product closer to the end line. The cost, because we're talking efficiencies, and there's also we're talking about opportunities to develop further. So we had this idea, then we thought about this. That's the generic, no? And say, okay, but you need to put it in paper to actually do the maths and see that this was beneficial. So we did this. We did also the business case and see what will be the opportunity. And this is when creativity comes to play. Because if you know your product, then you can always make a really good analysis on the cost and play it your way. No? So how many trim levels we can have, if we can reduce them, how can we understand how do we want to cut? Do we want to cut per car, or do we want to cut in batches? And all the kind of options that give you opportunities. And when you have a supplier that doesn't give you that kind of flexibility, they only impose you what they want to do. It could be a good thing if you don't look after your business. It's a nice life, I leave it with them. We will pay them. How much it costs us? 10 grand more? Okay, it will cost us 10 grand more. But at the end of the day, you're trying to do if you have the mindset of an entrepreneur and thinking that Aston Martin is my company, I own it, you need to look to make it more profitable as possible.
Well, that's when you are an intrapreneur, no? That's the entrepreneur that belongs to a big organization. They call them intrapreneurs.
Intrapreneurs. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So those are the people like you that just because you belong to a big organization with a lot of inertia, where it's better to not rock the boat and keep things as they are. But there are people that say, no, if we can improve it,
we have to.
We have to do it. There's no status quo to respect. This doesn't work. We have to make things the best way possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something that comes with the mindset, as you said, no? Is bring it into play, and you will find. So it's different when we're saying it's different, but at the end of it, it's the same thing. You have different flows. No, you will have people that will help you, and when you are an entrepreneur, you will find people that will support you and will guide you to the end line. But then you will be resistant. You will be the typical guy who tells you, that's not going to work. Okay. Have you tried it? No, but if you look at this, you can always find negativity in everywhere. No?
Everywhere.
So in the industry, when you're working in a bigger corporation that is already established, it's the same. You will have people that they don't want, as you were saying, they just It looks like they work for the government. This is like this, and this is closed. So
But if I have a comfortable job that doesn't require me to make a huge effort, that gives me stability, why would I support an intrapreneur in my company? That, I don't want anything to change.
That's the wrong mindset. That's bad, because we've all learned that most of the companies, they don't last more than the first. How much it is 80% of the companies will not last more than the 5 years.
Yeah.
No, then 10% will last 15, 20 years, and then the rest is like a 1% will last more than 40 years, something like that. No?
Yeah.
I never thought about it until I learned about this, and then you think you calm yourself and think about it and say, how many companies do I know that they are older than 40 years old?
Yeah.
And you can't count them with your fingers. Maybe there's more, no, but it's anyway. So you need to move. You need to be dynamic. If not, and the company needs to be dynamic and adapting to the new.
Well, I think it's very easy to spot that, because I am like you. I'm always doing things in a way that is not what is comfortable everywhere I work. And I immediately can tell, because you get people that you will be in a meeting and you will say, I would like to bring bins from Aston Martin. And they say, no, you can't do it like that. And that's the end of the conversation.
Yep.
Instead of saying, can I help you? Let's find a way, because right now I can't allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help you to make it happen? And that is, people don't realize, but I have like a massive detector in meetings to know who I'm talking to.
Really?
And if I see that you're the person number one, from then on, I'm not wasting any energy proposing, being active. But if you are the person number two that says, I can't, but let me see, let's work on it to find a way, then you have my respect.
For this project I was saying about the leather cutting, is an £11 million saving for Aston year on year, because we use more than, I can't remember the numbers, but more than 100,000 hides. So that's 4.5 square meters. You can imagine how many people I found that, and I tried to do it twice, this project. And on this one that I succeeded, and we are now doing the transition, I had the support from the CEO from Aston. But before, so now will be 3 to 4 years ago, when I tried to launch this project, I was told, nah, we're not going to change this. Why do I need to change it? For me, do you know the amount of work that needs to go into it? Yeah, but we don't have it right. Let's do it right. Let's work to make it work. So I was supposed to say no. I even asked the supplier to give me the numbers for some things that I was looking at, and they said no. And my finance director was like, he's saying, no, we're not getting them. Oh, that's bad. But then I had an opportunity, and this one we were talking about time, no timing. The timing at that time was not the right moment, to happen. The environment tells you, that you're pushing against too many people.
And also, I think sometimes the first time you do it, you don't know enough about the resistance you're getting. You don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah,
and then if you do that again 2 or 3 years later, then you're way more savvy about where, you don't waste your energy with the people that you shouldn't. Like, it's what you said before, the ideas are like energy. They don't, they're never created or destroyed. They're just transformed. They just resurface, they come back, they live forever.
Yeah. So for this, what I did is, I completely agree with what you just said about you learn about, and this is what we're saying about entrepreneurship also, when we're talking before this, as an idea, you will never have to wait to have it a perfect idea. Just keep moving, keep evolving. Because for me, in this time, I learned with, okay, if I go to these kind of departments, I'm never going to get the answer I need or the support I need. And actually, when you're trying to do a business case, you need the commercial team and the sales team, because they're going to give you how much we're going to sell during the year, so you can make a business plan forecasting these many colors, volumes, blah, blah. And also you need the commercial team to give you the cost perspective. Yeah. How much it costs to manufacture, shipment, packaging, rejections, obsolescence, production, all of that package you need to consider when you're making the business case. So these are the guys who were telling me no. So this next time I was reviewing it with a CEO something different. And I just, it was quite funny because I was with my director at the time that he very well knew what was going on about this. And he knew that I wanted to change it because it was nonsense. So he actually, I always remember this conversation. We were talking about something else. And then at the end of the meeting, I just threw my presentation that I made a year before. I said, this will be interesting for you to read.
Maybe it's time for you to read this.
Yeah. And straight away, he picked up like, oh, this, even if this is not the complete key factor, with considering everything, he was like, let's look into it. And we put a task force that then suddenly these people that were rejecting the idea, they were rejecting it. No, at the beginning, they were like, no. But as soon as we were having these kind of reviews and the CEO and the VPs were getting more attention, then people changed their mindset. I still have threats and comments from people, oh, this looking is going to be more expensive than this.
Shut up. Yeah.
So I still have that kind of things. At the end of the day, look, we've changed the status quo. It's something positive, and it's what needed to happen. So it's good. And it's not the final idea, We've made it. We removed the cotton supplier that we were having. We moved it to the leather manufacturer. And now we're investigating what is the next look that we can improve that productionization of the leather and the cotton. So we have tier 1 suppliers that are very efficient, and we're running studies to see if we do a stage 2 of that product. But anyway.
So one question that is coming to my mind now, if you are at Aston Martin, and you're working there regularly, and a mechanic or an engineer, anybody there has a great idea. That they could say it could be about the pipeline, about how things are organized, or it could be about materials or colors. Somebody has something that is a really good idea. What would be the first step that you think should be taken to take that into action? What would be would it be about talking to people? Would it be about modeling? Would it be about checking other companies and seeing who's doing what do you think would be the first steps to take that into action?
The first thing is, it will be make the picture of that idea less blurry for the people you're going to have to talk to, So, because there's something that we also need to think is, once you are having an idea and you're focused and you're looking into it and you're getting more knowledge that you didn't realize that you're getting, how it's going on and how to improve it and what other companies are doing. So you get into know what you want to say, Well, put it into a one-pager that puts 3 key things, 3 key elements or factors about what you are trying to improve or to change. And then the first thing I will do, if you're working in an industry or in a company, I will, even if you are a technician or whoever, set up a call with the departments you think is going to have an impact. You don't have to be accurate. You don't have to be setting up with the people that, these are going to be the main people that are going to be looking into this, but just open your topic up. To bring people to listen to what you're trying to do. And if it's a good idea and makes sense, these people will help you. And then start asking who is going to have responsibilities to make it work, and see where they go. And if you find resistance, well, maybe you have to approach it to different people, maybe rethink, okay, is this the right department I should be looking at? Or maybe is this other department? Because sometimes we don't see the bigger picture. We think we know, but most of the times we're wrong. Not because in purpose, but because we don't see what other departments have, what other how do you say this? the responsibilities that other departments have. Maybe they are constrained and they cannot support you on that. But then suddenly maybe I'm thinking production. No, maybe it's not production responsibility. No, it's MPNL, logistics. No, that could give you a hand if you're trying to improve a routing of or receiving or the packaging of something. Maybe you need to talk to MPNL instead of production. Production will not know, or because they will only know when the product comes to the line, and then from the line into the vehicle, and the process of I need to put this many screws to this torque, blah blah. So find the key stakeholders that you need to talk to help you. People that have, if we are looking for an entrepreneur that are working in that industry or a similar industry, or have a company that's already doing something similar to you, don't give them the clues that you don't want to share, but just have a conversation to understand how things work. And maybe these people will give you ideas that you can implement into your product or into your project. But again, as we were saying, don't wait for the first. Don't think that I just talked to these people and they just told me that this is how it works.
Yeah.
The world is too rich that we.
Yeah. Well, and when it's a really big idea, it will always sound wrong at first. Like if Airbnb was a horrible idea at first. Yeah. It was, the first time anybody tells you about Airbnb 15 years ago, you say, no way. Like nobody's going to open their homes to strangers. It's not scalable because you're building it with services that you can't provide on a global. And at the time, we didn't think about how you build communities with any project like that. So it's difficult. You have to, I really believe, go on.
No, but I think I fully support what you're saying, but also is, again, you think if someone was offering you that opportunity to say, will you invest on a business this renting rooms, you think anyone is going to open the door? I think the market or the market was already being of people. No, the people were already influenced. There were 2 more platforms, I think, that instead of you were paying, you were hosting people for free. I can't remember the name, but there were two main platforms that people was offering. So I think the next is,
Yeah, there was the coach. There was one that was like a coach surfing app. Yeah.
Coach surfing, yeah.
Yeah.
There was another one. I can't remember the name. I used them because when I was in Sweden to meet people, a friend of mine said, if you have the opportunity, you have a room, just rent it and you will know people, because it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna say it's hard, no, but it's different when you move from an established family.
Yeah.
You move abroad alone. You need to build your community. Yeah. So, I think the market was already influenced and the people was already influenced. So okay, and I think if at the same time you were launching Couchsurfing plus Airbnb, maybe it didn't work. Yeah. But because Couchsurfing had already built a network, a platform, maybe that helped.
And then also things like, what was the platform we used to use to buy and sell stuff before Amazon, like where you buy secondhand stuff? So there was Craigslist, and then there was eBay. Yeah, and then eBay had already shown that building a credibility profile was part of the trust built between users. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
people. I think sometimes you have the perfect idea, but it never. It at that time it didn't flow, but suddenly 10 years later, someone else bring it up and boom, and it worked. Before Uber, there was a company in the States, and it didn't go to a unicorn, but actually the CEO of that company, he set up another company. It's called Swift, or something like that. Swift, or something. That what they do, and it's become a unicorn. What they do now is they sell second-hand vehicles, but what they do is they inspect them. And then they certify the vehicles, So that the car, and you get a warranty. Even if it's you don't have to. You can be a private owner of a vehicle. You want to sell it secondhand. These guys will come, certify it. Then they will put it on their platform, and then you can say it's being validated by CIF. So then that gives you some credibility. So this guy was him and 3 friends. They were in a party, and they needed to go to somewhere else, and they were in the middle of nowhere, and they find out the problem of we don't have a vehicle. How do we get somewhere? No? So they were trying to reach taxi, calling, and they couldn't. So they started. It was I can't remember the name he said. So they started that, but because there was no, I don't know if it was because I think it's because the market was not there yet developed to support this. It didn't go anywhere. You know, he said in 6 months we were bankrupt.
Yeah.
And people didn't even know that the company exists.
No.
You know,
but those very often, those examples, very often those companies, they even start with action before the real idea. So Airbnb, they started with a web page to rent the Airbnb they had. And the concept of Airbnb as a huge platform came after the local success they had. So often this action is, this works. What action do we take to make it? Do you know who's very good? I don't know if you've listened to The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Have you listened to that podcast?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Well, it sounds very annoying. And the title, The Diary of a CEO, sounds, I think, is really wrong. But actually, he's super humble, super well-read. He knows so many cases. He's like an amazing source of thoughts, ideas, and processes. He's really good. He talks a lot about shit like this. It's really good. So one question I wanted to ask you about how you behave with your ideas is, when did you join Aston Martin? How long ago?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. So how do you think about your entrepreneurship and your ideas differently than 10, 12 years ago? Apart, obviously, because you've matured and you've got experience, but you haven't really worked a lot in a disruptive small startup. Your experience is mostly. So do you think that the processes and the structures that you understand and you develop are applicable to a smaller scale? Do you think that, like with the masters you did, that was brutal? That was a very interesting one. We'll talk about that a little bit. But do you think that also changed the way you perceive innovation and disruption? Or how does that operate in your mind with you developing as a person with the years?
So first, I think that the questions are a bit complex, no?
A little bit.
First point. So have I? Yes, I've changed. I've changed the way I approach ideas, and I approach I call them small projects. Before I was going into the deep and into the end, and like, oh, we need to do this, and doing lots of work. But then, because you don't involve other people, that they also need to change they need to see. Let's not say they need to change. They need to see what you're trying to do and the impact that's going to have. Then they will say no directly. So what I've learned is that involve other people, talk about the idea. Even if people say no, and I had this many, many times, just keep going. Yeah. Because maybe he says no, but the department is big. You can go to someone else, and maybe he will find it. Or you just go and with someone else, and you're developing something different that is for the same idea. It will come, and maybe he explains it in a different way. Maybe, yeah, and maybe. So I've learned that through the years. Yeah. Don't go to the bone. Just go. Involve people. Yeah. Involve people. Yeah.
Well, communities are fundamental. It is. To put ideas into action is fundamental in every way. Also because you also develop your idea and make it a stronger, proper project by doing that exercise, communicating it.
And also because if you're doing, and this was one of the things that I also learned, and it's not that I was not trying to say it, but because it looked a bit amateuristic, no? But you also learn that maybe your idea, you think it from your perspective, from yourself, you're so focused that you don't see the impact that there's something happening somewhere else. And maybe your idea suddenly doesn't become such a good idea. Actually, it's worse. So someone else maybe had already thought about it and they try to implement it. And maybe you can, an opportunity arise and you can evolve from there. Say, okay, but you did this, we're trying to do this other way. And maybe you can also engage with that person that if you go straight, he's going to say no, or he's not that he's going to say no, he's going to have his opinion about what he's did in the past with his experience. And it's maybe you're going to clash instead of working together as you need to be. So that's what I've learned. So involve other people. Is nothing is today, nothing's going to be tomorrow, but things will happen. If you keep moving, things are going to go. It may take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but at least you're not on stop mode because you're waiting for the perfect situation. Yeah. So that's what I've learned, and that's, I think, is the biggest thing I learned, and what has made me change and different. No? And I think be more successful on making these ideas, put them into action, because as you know, Chimo, because we know from for long now, I'm writing now on the many ideas that I just throw into Aston with involving other people that they suddenly are interested because it's improving their own department, and I don't have the time to actually go through them. So I'm trying to encourage them to lead them.
Yeah.
While I'm just supporting them to make them happen.
Yeah, take over. Yeah, they can take over.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is not like my own idea for my own business. So you can do that without a problem.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. And suddenly, secondly, with the masters and things like that.
How did it change the way you think about this?
The first thing that changed that innovation is not creating something from scratch. Yeah. Innovation is something that is an evolution. It's being there, thinking about stuff that is already there and moving. It doesn't need to be a product, can be a process, can be a new way of doing something. Sitting. You sit on a chair like this, but now you've decided to see it in another way. So it's better. So that's an improvement, it's an innovation that you're trying to do. So that, from that perspective, and also listening to many other industries, it opens up your mind in terms of course, you don't go into that because you haven't worked into that, no, in that industry, but it shows you how other people do other things, that you think, oh, I will do it this way. Actually, you don't need to do it that way. Once you listen to other people that has the knowledge on working on that kind of industry and how they do things, maybe you can take from them and actually say, oh, actually, that's not such a bad idea. It improves how we do things. That also, what we were saying about the maybe the market is not there, but also and when we're talking about the platform, well, you have these ideas because the dominant design hasn't been achieved, no? So then you make another curve of opportunity, so to develop a new curve of finding the new development, the new dominant design. So again, that also open up my opportunity of how I do things, and not thinking, when that is something good, it's done. That's the thing. You have to evolve that. And the other thing is being away from the industry for those weeks that I was in the masters. It makes you be moved from being on the point,
to have a perspective,
and doing it. That I missed a lot. That's one of the things that I missed a lot. When I was coming back to work, I was thinking, "Ooh, let's do things different."
Everything changes. I think the same about me being a teacher. Like, I can't be a full-time teacher. I need to do other things, because otherwise you don't bring anything. If you become, my job is just to teach, because I don't think about myself really like a teacher. Like, I just think about myself like they could be employed in my team. They could be people I mentor. They could be anything. But I don't want them to think like students. So I can't be a teacher as per se. I don't want to give them knowledge.
That's good, because that's an innovation, Chimo.
Yeah.
That's actually, and for me, I wish I had this opportunity, because I come from Spain. The way when I studied engineering, it was very rigid and is very rigid. And you have to calculate and it has to be perfect. No, actually, once you go out there to the market, nothing is perfect.
No.
Perfect is only once you have a mathematical approach of things.
Yeah.
But even though it's always an approximation, it's never wrong, So for me, it's been an eye opener. What I've learned the most when I was studying at Oxford or when I was studying in Spain, is about thinking stuff, having a different approach, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, more than no, I have to do this way, and incorporating other people to help me developing my idea. This thing about the CEO says this, the CEO says this because he's been involved with other people, that is with the things that he cannot get from him developing them. He gets it from other people that are developing them to improve the company, but he being the head, he says, he involves other people. So these are the things that I've learned the most. And actually,
one thing that I learned also from you, that's like my friends as well, because you proselytize a lot about it, is the factfulness kind of mindset. That book is epic. And because that was an argument I used to have with a good friend of mine often about how rational we are and what facts mean. And unless you challenge your own way of understanding data and the way your bias acts, you are an animal that has no rationality. It's like, and that book shows it really nicely, the way that, we ignore facts.
Yeah, because we are in this ecosystem that we think the news is telling us this, so this is this. Well, actually, no. Actually, there's other factors in there, and we don't take into consideration.
We don't take them. We ignore what doesn't follow.
And we think that what we believe is what 90% of the people believes. No, so then it's another thing that needs to be incorporated when you're making a company and trying to launch it. No, does really people think the same way you think, or is it 90% of the population that may have that approach, or is just the first world or the Occident? No, or if you're trying to do something from a developed, non-developed country, no, in phase of development, do they actually need it, or have you actually make a research to see if or is you thinking from this perspective that's what they need, no, to improve? So that book is epic. I always said it's like it's the only book I ever read, because it's the one that I always like. You need to read that.
Yeah, because everybody has a book, like a book that you go like that changed completely the way I think, like it affected. Yeah.
And it's so easy explained, because it explains things that are very complex.
Really?
GDP explains like the gap of the gap mindset, between there's no black and white, there's also gray, there's no bads and goods, there's in between, there's no poor rich, there's the middle class.
Interesting. So now I would like to ask you, do you have an idea that you haven't yet necessarily acted much upon? Do you have a problem? Do you have anything that we can launch as an exercise for ideas into action? And before that, can we just repeat your three points? The three factors that we start always for you. What is it?
Development, cost, and timing.
So those are the three first parts that you need to. Development, cost, and timing.
And it fits very well into almost everything. 99% of the things that you're doing, even if it's a new company you're trying to set up, or if it's just a small project that you're trying to look. And you don't have to make it too complex. Just just think, what are you trying to develop? Is a product, is a service, is a platform, what it is? Then just develop it. Once you're developing it, you will find the timing to implement it. And also you will find the cost, how much it's going to cost you and how much you're going to be selling it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So to make it sustainable, because everyone wants to build a company that's sustainable.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. So
they could come up with a really, it's about the actions you take. So this is not about coming up with a final proposal and the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas into action, part of it could be just something that creates the flow. So like, for instance, did I tell you about the head of not Bob Marley, Stevie Wonder on the island? Did I told you?
Yeah.
So for instance, ideas into action in this course, one of our students, he works in carnivals. So he was working on a big carnival off the coast of Africa. And somebody from the team, while they were brainstorming, he said, we need Stevie Wonder. So he cut out the head and he stuck it on the island.
Yeah.
And then the following week, somebody came back and said, I emailed the agent, and he emailed back with a series of questions. So that's an action. It's not, it's taken something. So what happened with that project was it was affected by the spirit, although probably, nothing big happened physically with, he never traveled. So ideas into action is a way of thinking that you think about what action you can take.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be quite intuitive. Sometimes it can be very process driven. So you need to analyze which process you're on. So there's a bit of thinking behind it where you set up, as you said, either your 3 principles or you talk about, design thinking, whatever it is that that structures your steps. But it's always very difficult to say what's the first step. The first step could be, I'm going to make a phone call. I think from listening to you, a lot of the first step is listening to other people and talking to other people. That's very much your way of starting with ideas into action. It's about what you said. It's about drafting a first page so you can talk to other people. So that's your way of taking them into action. A lot of it, I think, they have a Spanish teacher that never makes any sense. That's always giving these vague drafts of concepts that they get really uncomfortable because they're like, whoa, this is so wooey. Cool. Okay, thank you very much, Vince.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chimo.
I'm going to stop the recording.